Welcome to the Not Just Ads show, where B2B brands learn how creator-led content drives pipeline, builds trust and gains long-term brand equity. Each episode, we talk to founders and marketers and creators using content to build reputation and lead their category. On today's show, I'm joined by Alan Rachtein. He's a B2B sales leader, coach and thought leader with over 10 years enterprise sales experience. He's also a creator as well, who is creator and founder of the Modern Seller Program, a digital training program platform designed to help sales professionals crush quotas in under 60 days. He's guided hundreds of reps to consistent high impact performance. Alan, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm super happy to be here.
Great. I read one of your LinkedIn posts recently, and you were telling me that you were telling your audience, which is me as well, that you, before you were in sales, you were broke. And just walk us back in terms of how you got into sales, and how you got to where you are at the moment and what you're doing now with the Modern Seller Program.
Absolutely. That's a good question and a good starting point, I guess, because basically we start everyone that it's either reading on LinkedIn or watching different type of content, either videos or YouTube or podcasts and so on. They need some anchor to feel related, when we are talking about the audience, right? And from there say, hey, this looks like myself right now. And I know that if this guy make it, I can get there as well. So in my case, I always knew that sales was my passion or my only skill at some point, if you wanna put it in some way. I knew from the beginning that my role and everything that I would be doing in my life since the early days was going to be, or at that point, is going to be related into business development and building things. I have that entrepreneurial DNA as well. And the post that you're referring to, I think that it's really important because it was the first anchor that I had when I started posting, saying something like, hey, when I started, I was broke, in the sense of, it doesn't mean that I was broke living under a bridge, but it means that I had nothing. I started from scratch, like every other 99% of the people that I started either in a new role or either in a different position or in a new company. And I made it based on my definition of success, let's say, right? I made it happen. I wanted to be free. I wanted to be my own boss. I wanted to start helping other sellers that are right now in the position that I was 5, 7 or 10 years ago. And right now I'm doing that. So my transition was mainly through the right path, or all the path that every seller is always trying to find. That is, I started as an SDR, then I was an AE, then I was a sales manager, sales director, all way to the top, not a C-level. Right now I'm a C-level because I'm my own CEO. But yeah, so basically the main transition or the main idea behind the post and behind how I do things right now is, hey, I always knew that I was going to be in sales. I know that sales is my passion and the skills that I'm developing every day. And I know that when I started, I knew to have to go through a lot of steps in order to get where I am right now.
Sure. I was looking on your LinkedIn profile, and one of the things, you have broken pipeline, poor performance. I fix both. What usually do you find is actually broken when a company tells you their pipeline is a problem? What usually is the key thing that you see when they come to you?
Yeah, this is I love the question because basically a lot of either head of sales or VPs of sales or even CROs or even the CEOs that are hiring me or at least reaching out to me, this is the most common question. Like, hey, we don't have enough leads, or we have a broken pipeline, or we are not closing enough amount of deals, right? So every company, every market, every solution that you're selling to, every different persona that you are targeting is totally different. It's a different story. But if I have to say one thing that is like a common denominator in every company, that it's the cost mainly of why, as a consequence, the pipeline at some point is broken, is because they don't have a clear structure or system in place in the sales aspect, right? In order to understand, okay, what should I do in terms of activities? What are the KPIs that we want to achieve? Why those KPIs are important and how I define those KPIs, because we can say, hey, I want to make 1 million next year. Okay, is that achievable? Is that something that it's real to do? And then how we can break that down into different type of activities, into the different roles based on the team that you have, in order to make sure that everyone achieves do what they have to do. But basically, it's about the system. They don't have nothing in place. They just say, hey, this is what I'm selling and this is what we want to achieve, but nothing is happening. So, yeah.
And then as a follow-up question, like how has creator content or outbound enabled them? Like, or how would you enable them through creator content in order to make that shift?
I think that there is a big evolution or something that is happening in the market right now. That is how content or enablement through content or even thought leadership is helping this system that we were saying before. Because right now brands are looking for either people like me or colleagues in the space saying, hey, you have the trust, you have the audience. Why don't we use you as an anchor to spread the word about our solution? And that will at some point solve that broken pipeline, right? But again, to be completely honest, I'm in the space. I think that there is a combination, and the enablement part is important, but not only the content creation and not only the audience that is going to see you as a creator. And just because of that, you will have a solid pipeline. So you have to have this fine balance between my system internally and the content creation that it's super powerful. If you have both, then you have a winner. A winning,
What kind of like key things could you give, like to say a company that's looking at this, whether it's a CRO, whether it's a head of sales, VP of sales? What key action points would you give them in order to have both of those effectively? Like just some points from a content perspective, but also from like an internal systems. What do you see are like kind of fundamentals that are needed?
I think that the most important thing right now, and we are seeing this in the numbers as well, and when we measure, depending on the KPIs that we are talking about, everyone wants more leads, more signups, and as a consequence, in the end of the day, more clients or paying customers. But the first thing is trust when we're talking about content creation. So if you have the CRO or the growth team or the marketing team trying to build some system, mainly in the content side, you need to connect with creators that has that connection, the same values, the same trust, the same solutions, or at least the ideas that they are spreading needs to be connected to what your company is sharing. That's a must right now, because basically the prospect that you don't know that is out there reading these creators, right? They get connected to the creator. They get connected to the story, to what they are sharing, to how they are solving the problems with whatever the tool that they are offering or the process or methodology. And if you are the brand behind that story, then you will have more chances to get that prospect into your paying customers, right?
So alignment is key, really.
Alignment is key. Yeah. Alignment and trust from the creator as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then I just read a stat there from Dentsu. They released a report from Superpowers Index. Yeah, I think it was the end of a couple of months ago. They said 68% of B2B buyers say all B2B brands sound the same. But as you mentioned, trust and values and credibility are now key buying triggers. And people are prepared to pay a premium for that if they feel trust in the brand. How do you help clients who you are like, when you the brands that you work with, how do you help them in terms of like position their messaging to stop sounding generic and show up with like kind of content that actually starts sales conversations?
That's a great point, because I think that number it's even higher than that right now, and this happens as well in the sales side. Every seller sounds the same. Everyone is selling the same way. Everyone is trying to push their products in the same way, and that's why it's not going or cutting through the noise, right? With the content happens the same. So besides alignment or on top of alignment, I think that whenever you are radical about how you position yourself in terms of, it would be depending on the objective. Sometimes the brands want just brand awareness, or maybe they want to share a lead magnet so they have some leads coming in, right, and signing up for the product or whatever it is. It depending on the objective, this might change. But the thing that it's always the same, it's how you can detach from how other creators or other sellers or other people is positioning your message. And that's where the story comes in, right? And that's where, if you're radical, and radical doesn't mean being aggressive or being out of the box. It means being different, right? Being totally different of what are the things that you can say that people will feel related to that story and saying, hey, this is what's going on my daily basis, and this is something that I can use to solve my problem. So why don't we try that solution? So totally agree with you. And I think that number is even higher, that everyone is doing the same. Try with something different.
Yeah. Any specific examples that you could give in terms of something different that you see that's working well with some brands that you've worked with on the audience that you engage with?
Even in my case, but in other cases as well, not only speaking of myself, but I've seen a lot of creators create content about something like, for example, you record yourself with sunglasses and dressed like a clown, for example, and you start talking about, or you make a cold call live about a product and how it sounds, and maybe that video is not the best in terms of the outcome, or in terms of the solution, or in terms of what happened if we measure the KPI, but the impact it has, because it's real, that builds the trust, that builds the alignment with the company and with the spectator or the audience that says, hey, I go through this every single day, and this guy is filming himself and solving that for me in real time, going through the same challenges. Maybe I need to go through it, you know? So this is a couple of things that I've seen from other creators, like, hey, don't be scared of going through or doing what everyone is doing. Don't be scared of doing exactly the opposite, basically, right?
Yeah. One of the other things I wanted to ask you about as well is around kind of the format and stuff. And we see different trends on LinkedIn. So like, obviously we spoke on previous episodes about the growth in video, but we've also seen kind of like, I would say, B2B is kind of like, we looked about the evolution about like how digitalization over 10 years ago, then it was kind of like gated white papers and so on. Now it's more creator led, building trust with brands, people buying from people more so than a brand and so on. But one of the trends that we see on LinkedIn a bit now is kind of like content gated in the comments. You might have seen this of like kind of say sharing something, but like getting people to comment and then directing it to them. And it seems to get a lot of engagement. Do you see that this will continue to work well, or do you think that maybe it's sometimes that depending on the type of content that it can maybe jeopardize credibility in the long term, or what do you see?
I do believe both what you're saying. So this will work. This will keep working as long as you are sharing new stuff. And basically high quality content, or lead magnets or freebies or resources or whatever it is that you're putting out there. Besides that, we need to be careful about it, because like everything, when people get overwhelmed with all these lead magnets, imagine that you're following 10 people. And when just one, this is like demand and offer, you know, and when just one is offering something for free, and then 1 month later, everyone is offering something for free, no matter how good it is, you feel like, hey, everyone is doing the same, you know? So this might happen. So people need to reinvent, myself, every creator. And it's not just giving a lead magnet, a gated lead magnet, so you get the emails and then you keep adding value. And this is something that is, as an advice, if you allow me, it's give, and then ask if at some point you want to monetize, or you want to sell your services, or whatever it is that you're doing. First, give your resources, give everything. There is a phrase from, I think it's Alex Hormozy, or whoever it is, but it's not mine, that says, whatever it is that you are sharing, it should be painful. Like you should be thinking that, hey, I must charge for this. Well, give it for free. Because if it is good, people will get back to you saying, hey, I want to hire. So answering to your question straightforward, I think that this will keep evolving, and gated content, it's a good thing to get people into your funnel as well, and fixing the pipeline problem. But make sure that whatever you are sharing out there, it's valuable, it's helpful, it's powerful, it's actionable, and it's not just the same thing every week, because people get tired of that.
So being authentic and making sure that it's useful as well. And I think to your point as well about, you mentioned about like giving and over like being really valuable in terms of what you're sharing and so on. I think also people, if it's valuable, they may ask you then how to implement it as well. So like it's a win-win as well. One of the other things then around, like you mentioned about your sales career in terms of going from SDR and kind of growing up in more responsibility and more seniority. Now you have your own company. Tell me about that transition. How did you go from being a creator at a company, now being a creator yourself? How does that work? How is your life different now than what it was then? What does your week look like?
All right. I think that I had this idea since the beginning. As I mentioned a couple of questions ago, I have this entrepreneurial DNA. I had 2 software factories. I am from Argentina originally. And when I was back there. With a couple of colleagues, we created a software factory, then a virtual reality system. We did kind of everything. Then was also a website development factory, however you want to call it. I sold that out back in 2018 when I had a car accident that I almost died, and then that's when I decided to move here to Barcelona, and I started this career path. But I always knew that I wanted to build something on my own. The thing is that I was sponsored by the first company that I got here. So I wasn't able to be my own boss until I got the Spanish or European citizenship. That happened 2.5 years ago. The moment that I got the citizenship, I told my boss, hey, this is the time, I mean, and he told me, Alan, I knew this was happening at some point. So all my best wishes and do it. So in my case, it's not that it happens organically or because of one specific action. I knew that this was my faith, so to speak. Despite that, there is one goal on top of that is like, for me, the North Star. That is, I want to have my freedom in terms of timing. Then the reality is I work more now than when I was working as an employee, but I do it because I love it. Brand partnerships, training clients, traveling to visit clients, doing workshops, coaching sellers, building the digital program, the modern seller program, having a YouTube channel, etc., etc., etc. And my day looks, I don't know, to be honest, sometimes it's just content and brand partnerships that I'm working on. Sometimes it's just fully week of clients and meetings and closing deals and so on. And some weeks are more smooth, let's say, more chill, and I can go to the gym at 11 a.m. But the thing is, I don't have a boss, I don't have employees, and that gives me the ability of, if I want to go to visit my family to Argentina and work from there 2 months, I don't have to ask for permission.
Sure.
And that's my ultimate goal.
Yeah. How did you go? Like, that was always your intention. You mentioned you'd already worked in, or you'd part of software companies in Argentina before you moved to Spain. From working in the role, like, what was the transition? Did you just say, okay, on Monday I'm going to hand in my notice and then I'm starting? Or were you building up something to then make a transition? Or what was can you tell us a little bit more about that transition?
Yes. No, I'm the kind of guy that if I don't have everything planned, even when to go to the bathroom, I will suffer. And that's painful sometimes because you don't go with the flow.
Yeah.
So I knew that whenever the time arrives, I need to have like a plan B or something at least build on top of it, because I wouldn't jump into this empty swimming pool. Yeah. The fun story here is that it was pure. This wasn't something that was planned in terms of when I became a content creator, because the first company that I was in a couple of years ago said, hey, we have a contest. The contest is everyone should start building their personal brand. We were 50 people, 40-ish people. It's like, okay, you have to the main goal is you have to post for 1 month in a row for whatever you want to post, for sure, promoting our solution.
Are you okay with sharing the company?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's a LandBot. LandBot, it's a no-code chatbot builder. They were the ones that sponsored me, and in fact, they are really good friends of mine. So
LandBot leading the way in B2B creator content.
Absolutely, a lot of time ago. Plug. Absolutely, they were like pioneers in that case, and they were telling us like, you need to build your personal branding and so on. Also selling our solution, and that makes sense. And the winning prize was Amazon gift card, $100 or $200. I don't remember. To make it short, we started, all of us, like 40-something people. I was the only one finishing. That gave me, after a couple of years, I understood that how hard it is to be consistent and to keep doing it and to not feel that depression of, hey, no one is liking my post except for my mom and 2 friends, and no one is commenting here, no one is reaching out, no one is buying because I'm putting this out there. But you need to keep doing, you need to keep going. So since that moment, I kept on going, talking about whatever it is. Then I sharpened that and narrowed that down into sales and B2B and tactics. And when the moment came, as you were asking me, like, hey, you had something, I noticed that this was going up. Right now, I have more than 50K followers. And I noticed that, hey, people started reaching out saying, hey, Alan, you are doing this. Why don't you help us? So I started helping companies for free in exchange of a testimonial or something like that. And then when I got some results and some ROI for the companies, I decided to jump into the not empty swimming pool and say, hey, let's do this.
Just a couple of follow-up questions. So for example, the company that you Lambot, who started, what was the brief? Like, were they saying you need to build your personal brand, but you need to talk about the company where you work? Or was it like, you need to build your personal brand?
I think that they were selling us in the good way, and it was mainly about the personal brand, because the marketing guy knew the importance and the power that personal brand can bring to us, but also to the company. I mean, there are some stats of the importance and the power that if you as an employee post about some solution, you are a person, you post about the story, you have 3, 4, even 10x more.
12x according to LinkedIn, more than the company page.
Exactly. So they knew this by that time. The thing is, I still have that PowerPoint in OneDrive that it's a full explanation of what are the best practices at that moment of how many characters, how to post, the structure, the format, the story, the lines, etc. And I thought like, hey, this is genius. Why don't we do this, right? Like 1 hour a week, 1 hour, whatever. And yeah, here we are right now. So I need, every time that I came across this guy in the street or whatever, it's like, hey, where I am right now, it's thanks to you, you know? It's like, no, you did yourself. It's kind of a mix feeling.
What do you tell companies then though? Like, so that's the first step. They know that there's an opportunity there. The individuals are the voice really of getting the brand or the product or whatever it is that they're trying to promote. What do you tell companies now that you consult with? Like, what are, if you could name like 3 key fundamentals that if companies want to really delve deep into like leveraging their teams and encouraging them to post more, what are the 3 things do you think that they should do that can be actionable?
I think that there is a huge problem right now, a good problem basically, because everyone understood that B2B brand and creator economy is growing, and this is something that is happening. But still, even the companies that are saying, hey, we need to do this, and they go and hire me or make a partnership with another creator, they don't empower or they don't push or help their own team, their own people to do this. In fact, answering to your question, the 2 or 3 main things that I always suggest them is like, hey, why don't you build even a commission plan or something that people will feel encouraged to post to whatever it is, and then for sure selling or a call to action about the company. The thing is that I don't know if they are afraid of doing that internally, but they prefer doing it with another creator, or they don't understand sometimes that what happens is that they think that they own the employee's LinkedIn, and that's totally wrong. It's like, imagine that you jump into a new company and you say, hey, from now on, your Instagram is mine. And if I don't have Instagram, so you don't own anything. Same with LinkedIn. Your LinkedIn belongs to me. You talk about the webinar, you talk about this, you talk about the things that we are doing. And I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about we raised some Series A. I want to talk about story, and that will help you more. So there is a misconception there, I would say.
So you think there's a mismatch, you know, in terms of like the traditional way is like promoting reshare our webinar or reshare what's new on the company, whereas
everyone hates that.
And also it's not maybe as engaging either. It's not authentic.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a misalignment or mismatching between, we know that we have to do something about it because either it's a FOMO thing or an urgency thing or something that our competitor is doing. So let's go make a partnership with this guy that it's I don't know, killing it on LinkedIn. But when you come and say, hey, why don't you empower your whole team because you have the budget, you have the structure, you have the team to do this? I'm not sure. They are resharing our posts, but your posts are not getting anything. And then you ask me to measure with KPIs how is our partnership going. So I encourage you to do that internally because your growth will be exponentially better.
So you would say just have an alignment on the KPIs internally.
That's key.
The first point you mentioned is around making sure that like the employee knows that, you know, their brand is their brand and you're encouraging them to post, but it's not necessarily that they should then have an obligation to post every update about the company.
Absolutely. And you don't know the employee either. Right? So at the end of the day, it's a win-win strategy. If you don't want to post, don't post. I mean, you are working at this company. If you want to post, let me give you the resources and the elements on the tool so you can do it in the best way. If in the future you become the CEO of the company in 10 years from now, amazing. If you go to another company, that's amazing as well. Because in the meantime, in this commercial transaction that we have, you're giving me a lot. Yeah,
exactly. Anything else that you'd add to that then as well in terms of like how companies can encourage their staff to get more active?
I think Yeah, I think that from our side, from the creator side, we have a responsibility at some point of the educational side of things. We are still in a blue ocean, I guess.
Yeah.
And I don't have the number, but I would assume, and I can bet that not more than 10% of the companies are in this B2B creator economy or world right now. Testing, in fact, a lot of companies that reach out to me is like, hey, this is our first time doing it. Let's go with a one-off post and let's test it out. And you are guiding them on how you work, how you should do it, the advice that you're giving them. So I think that we are in that learning phase, and this will happen eventually for sure.
Yeah. So just to recap then, it would be alignment, making sure that KPIs, and then like make even the employees aware of the blue ocean opportunity. Like that it shouldn't be thinking of like, not everyone's going to stay in the same company all the time.
Absolutely.
But that the time that they are in a company, they can be a significant asset if they are posting, and sometimes posting about the company as well on their LinkedIn. Yeah.
Yes. And
so it's an enablement really.
At the end of the day, it's that. Yeah. Best way to put it. Yeah. Absolutely.
Great. Any predictions for the future?
I think that this will keep growing, not only in the LinkedIn or in the YouTube or in any channel or distribution channel that we're talking about or social media, but also in networking events, in offline things, let's say. This will happen more. Instead of, I don't know, making a partnership with David Beckham or, I don't know, Serena Williams or any famous people, you are going to bring this guy from LinkedIn, like it happened with Mr. Beast right now, for sure.
Yeah.
And this guy will represent more for your employees than Messi, you know, because it's a different thing. And I think that this is where we're going. And this will keep growing.
Alan, thanks very much for joining the show.
Thank you very much for inviting. The pleasure was all mine. It's all mine. Hey, let's do it. Thank you very much.
Great. Thanks a lot.